give our new sports minister a very hearty UNC. Congratulations for his maiden speech on platforms such as this. You know and I know persons like Brent represent the future. Because you also know that in the house of the rising sun, there is place and space for everyone in Orlando. One moment, please.
And we are live here at the Brazil Secondary School. We're taking in the Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar, the political leader of the UNC. And it is a call to victory. Let's take you straight away to the Prime Minister once again.
Brent and persons like him represent our youth. His generation and those who come must carry a torch when we someday must leave the political stage. And so we know we have a very powerful potential in our young people. And we must have the courage to let them join us so that we may change old ideas and practices to enrich our governance as we aspire to build a strong, a united nation in which everyone would be equal and would have the potential and the freedom to achieve their full development. So, sisters and brothers, join me as we welcome Brent Sancho, our new Minister of Sports. Join me also in welcoming our other new ministers who are here tonight. Our new Minister of National Security, Brigadier Alfonso, please stand. Thank you. Our new Attorney General, Garvin Nicholas. And of course, there are other new ministers. I'm trying to spot them. I saw Christine Hussain, our new Minister of the People and Social Development. Down there. All those new ministers have joined us. And of course, let us also welcome our continuing ministers. Your own Member of Parliament, Mr. Jairam Simangal. Minister Clifton Dikoto. Minister of Finance, Larry Hawaii. Minister of Education, Dr. Tim Gopi Singh. Minister of Local Government, Marlene Kudre. Minister Indar Singh in the Ministry of Finance. Minister Hadid in Tourism. Minister Bharat in Trade. Minister Rambachan in Works. Minister McLeod, Labour. Minister Kevin Ramnarayan, Energy. Minister Ramona Ramdial in the Environment. Minister Dr. Botiwari, Planning. On my left, Minister Dr. Rupert Griffith. Minister Dr. Khan. And Minister Lincoln Douglas. And all those ministers who will continue as part of our team as we go forward for Victory 2015. I ask you again, as Dr. Monilal, our continuing Minister and Leader of Government Business, he's up here, he asked you and I ask you again, are you ready? Are you ready for 5 more years of progress? Are you ready for Victory 2015? My friends, my family here, in this constituency, La Hoqueta, Talparo, members of the UNC family, I say a good night to all of you, a very warm good night, good evening. I thank you for coming out to this the restart of our Monday night meetings in your numbers, inside the hall, outside the hall, on the road, everywhere is a sea of yellow. Okay. And so, you know, as we stand here tonight in this Brazil High School, I think we can consider this as somewhat sacred ground. Because this school represents for me part of my eternal dream for the children of our nation. There is a plaque outside. Those of you coming in may have seen it. When you leave, you will see it. There's a plaque outside which says, on September 25th, 2000, Prime Minister Baste Pandey and Education Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar officially opened this Brazil High School. As I speak, there are at present 435 children enrolled in this school. Many hundreds would have passed through and graduated from 2000 until this year, 2014, would have passed through this school. And you know what happened? Before we built this school, before we built the schools throughout the secondary schools to achieve universal secondary education, your children here had to go to Arima, had to go to Sandy Grande, had to wake up all hours of the morning to get a school place. And more than that, they would tell many of your children in this committee that they failed the common entrance SEA exam. Why? Because they did not have school places for them. And so we changed that in the year 2000. We built schools like this one, also in Manzanilla, Valencia, Blanchisseries. We built in Tobago, the Mason Hall Secondary. In fact, under the Pandey administration, we built 52 schools. 52 schools. Our vision then remains the same that we have today. Not one child must be left behind. Not a single child must be left behind. And so we continue for training. And that vision continues to inspire me in my mission, which is to ensure that we have education and training opportunities for all, so we can prepare you for the world of work so that you can get sustainable jobs. That is why in the last 4.5 years, you would be maybe surprised, some of you, but you would want to know that since we came into office in 2010, since you hired us to run this country, we have built about 85 schools. And you know what? We have another 89 schools under construction. So what must we do? We must not stop that development. Do you want Rowley as your Prime Minister? You must make sure election 2015 to return the partnership to government so we can continue the development work in education, we can complete the schools and all the other projects that we have. I talk again about our vision for education and training for you to get sustainable jobs. And that is why we have given out over 95,000 laptops to school children and teachers. And we have expanded the gate. We expanded the gate and the gate remains wide open. Do not get distracted by PNM propaganda that we will close down gate. The gate remains open. We have now surpassed, gone beyond our target for tertiary education in this country. In 2010, we had promised you that we would have, by May 2015, 60% tertiary education. I am proud to say that as at December 31st last year, we have gone beyond that target, and we have 65.23% of tertiary education. And that means that 57,000 persons in this country are benefiting now from tertiary level education. We will become the first country in this hemisphere, the first ever in our history and that of this hemisphere. We will exceed 70% in the tertiary education sector. And you ask me, yes, you may well ask me, what is in it for you here in La Joqueta, Talparo? We have built the MIC Omera Technology Center in your constituency. We have established throughout the country 12 NESC centers. But for you here, Cabinet has approved lands to construct an NESC center in Talparo. We have also opened in this constituency a public access learning system known as PALS. And we have used YTEP. With this, members of public, you can access free of charge internet services at that PALS center. And literally you could say on the pavement, off the road, you can go and get free internet access in your own constituency. In addition, we have been issuing awards for something known as CVQ. That is a Caribbean Vocational Qualification. And right here at the Brazil High School, those awards have been given out and will continue to give them out to members of this community. In addition, YTEP has classes in this very school for all of you, La Joqueta, Talparo, and surrounding areas. You can access the YTEP classes here. Not too far away, facilitated by our innovative bypass road, the Valencia bypass road. I'm sure your MP spoke of it. Those of you from this area, you can take advantage of the recently opened COSTAT campus at Sandy Grande. And as I speak of opportunities for training and learning, you can also access our state-of-the-art Nurses Training Academy, the first of its kind at El Dorado. For many of you who live in this community and others throughout Trinidad and Tobago, we established centers known as workforce assessment centers. And what these do is that if you possess skills or competencies, but you do not have a certificate, you can be the skills of a plumber, a mason, a carpenter, a beautician, any of these skills, but you have no piece of paper, no qualification. You can go into the Workforce Assessment Center. They will assess you, and if you reach up to scratch, they give you a certificate, which you can then take to go to get a sustainable job. If you do not come up to par, they will take you at your will, if you wish, and then they will train you and then give you your qualification. So far, since we introduced the Workforce Assessment Centers, we have touched the lives of over 5,000 persons in Trinidad and Tobago. Only on Friday last, we launched for the first time in the history of our country, through the MIC, what we know as a welding caravan. This welding caravan is fully techno-driven, with simulators for welding, and it will go through rural parts of our country to give you access for training in welding. So take advantage of these opportunities. With YTEP, we have over 50 centers of learning, and only on Saturday, YTEP launched for the first time a fully loaded cosmetology salon on wheels, a training bus that will come to you in your communities. Through COSTAT, we have 6 centers, advancing as we speak construction of the Coast Guard headquarters and connector roads will be serviced by PTSC buses from Talparo to get there in Chaguanas. The bus service will also service students from your community who wish to attend the NESC State-of-the-Art Technology Center and heavy equipment training at Woodford Lodge. As we speak, foundation works have been completed and construction of the UTT campus, aviation campus, the first of its kind, an aviation campus where you could get training to learn to fly. You can get there, as I say, at the Camden Airstrip in Couva. Work has commenced on construction. So these are some of the projects which we will want to complete. A good first term deserves another term. Do you agree? And so we need to complete the work. We need to complete the work that we have begun. Now, whilst we are very clear on our vision and our mission in education and training, because we see it as the best tool to build our nation by equipping our citizens with the right skills and the right competencies to get sustainable jobs. But what is the stance of the PNM? Where do they stand when it comes to building schools and creating learning opportunities? I want to remind you of the words of Member of Parliament Colin Imbert in the Parliament on June 9th, 2000, which was a time when we were opening this school and the other schools across the country. And I quote from the Hansard, June 9th, 2000, MP Imbert. But they could find sites for 10 secondary schools in the most remote parts of the country. They are building schools in the middle of the jungle, in the forests, for Dwen and Lap to occupy. That is management UNC style. There is nobody living there. That's you they're talking about, and your children who attended the Brazil High School. Mrs. Persad-Bissessar, go and tell them that. You are calling them that, Dwen and Lap. Well, children and parents and families of this community and of those who have attended this Brazil High School, I want to ask Dr. Rowley today whether he will condemn those statements of MP Imbert. And I want to ask Mr. Coffey, who wants to be your member of parliament for La Hoqueta Talparo. Let us ask him whether he agrees that the Brazil High School was built for your children because they were Dwen and Lap. Let us ask him if he will condemn the statements made by MP Imbert at that time. About a year later, 1 year later, MP Assam in the Parliament, speaking in the Parliament, January 22, 2001, he confronted Mr. Imbert's comment in the House of Representatives. Dr. Rowley's comments then were so unparliamentary that the Speaker had to ask that their remarks be struck off the records. They were too offensive to be left on the Hansard record. And I read from the Hansard of 22nd January 2001. Honorable Mervyn Assam, I think it needs to be repeated. The same member for Diego Martin East got up in this house, and I hate to have to repeat it, but I think it needs to be repeated, that we were building schools in Aripo, Brazil, Blanchisez and La Fillette, in other parts of the rural areas of this country to house Dwens, parrots, and wild animals. That is how the Member of Parliament, Diego Martin East, described the flowers of this nation, your children and my children. Dr. Rowley, words expunged. Mrs. Persad-Bissessar, go to the Hansard, read your Hansard. Honorable Assam, I do not know why the people of this country do not treat him as they treated those people of yesteryear. He would have been drawn, he would have them drawn and quartered in certain societies for making that remark. Continued from the Hansard, Mr. Imbert, words expunged. Dr. Rowley, why do you not sit? Mr. Speaker, member for Diego Martin East, I would ask you not to shout across the floor and call members on the other side was expunged. That is against the standing orders. Please strike that off the record. So having called your children dwens and laps and so on, when confronted a year later, their comments were so unparliamentary that they had to be struck off the Hansard record. These are the people who ask you to vote for them. These are the people who are saying to you that they will serve you better. I ask you tonight, do you want Dr. Rowley as your Prime Minister? And I ask you to remember what happened with Bish. Remember what happened with Bish High School. A school that we built. But in spite and malice of the PNM, they refused to open the school for 10 years. So 2 generations of children were denied a place close to their home. But I always tell you, God doesn't sleep, he only wears pajamas. And we were able to come back into government to open the Bish High School for the children of Bish and the surrounding areas. And so we must not let them get into office, because the 84 plus schools that we are building now, should they come into office, they will not open them, they will close them down, they will not complete them. The children's hospital we're building in Couva will not be completed by them. The South Campus will not be completed. The center being built here, I think it's a tennis center, right? Tennis in Tacarigua, they will not complete it, they will not open it, because they would have been projects of the partnership and the UNC. So let us not give them that chance to stop the development that is taking place. My friends, preparation for general election 2015. You know, this evening, I can feel that energy as we prepare for Victory 2015. Do you want to know the date of that election? Do you wish to know the date of 2015? Okay. You will have to wait a little while longer, because we have a lot more work to complete before that date is presented to you. Oh, and then we will tell you the second term date. The date when we begin the next 5 years of building our country, of keeping our economy strong, and of creating jobs for everyone. You will soon have that date. And when I tell you the date, you must be ready in every corner of every constituency to stand up for your party, for the partnership, for Victory 2015. In 2010, you started a people's revolution. With your help, we began to transform our country. We began building with a clear vision of creating a new political paradigm, in which development moved not only into the capital and from the capital, but development moved to the communities which had suffered neglect under successive governments. I promised never to abandon you, and I kept that pledge to stay in touch with you. You know something? You would have, and you have had, many prime ministers, and you would have other prime ministers. But I assure you, you will never have a prime minister who loves you more than I love you all. You will never have one. You see, when I took the oath of office as your prime minister, I pledged then, and I swore the oath, to serve without fear and without favor. That pledge I remain committed to. I put politics aside and I led a partnership dedicated to fairness, dedicated to equality, committed to consultation with you, focused on a vision of a better tomorrow for everyone, based on transparency and accountability. You know, it has never been easy, with an obstructionist opposition, but we were determined to cross every hurdle in order to deliver the services that you deserve. You know, and you will recall, that I put friendships aside. I focus on translating a vision into reality. A leader must have vision. A leader must have passion. And a leader must banish fear and focus on doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do. That is what you expected. That is what you expected when you hired me as your leader. And that is what we have delivered to you. There were times, several times, which called for very, very tough decisions. And I made those decisions without considering whether they would diminish my political stocks. I did not abdicate my responsibility in trying to shield friends. If someone in high office broke the rules, that person had to face the consequences, unlike has ever happened in any previous government. I remember when a diplomat was sent home from Ottawa under the PNM, the then Prime Minister made that diplomat fired out of Ottawa, made him a Minister of Government. I remember when a Minister of Finance under the PNM withdrew her monies out of the Clico debacle. That minister took out her money, as Dr. Munilal says, on Oria's night. When other people say, put it on Q-Tex, get in hairstyle to go out to Oria's parties or to go to church. That minister withdrew her personal monies when that institution was collapsing. None was fired. None was brought to book. None was held to account. And so we have to talk about responsibility. The present leader of opposition was in the cabinet when that fired diplomat was made a minister. He was there and said nothing about the former Minister of Finance. Once he was there in the cabinet, he never spoke about Calder Heart and the work that they were doing. All the wrongs, you know what? Is only when he got fired from the cabinet, mouth open, Tory pelt out. Only after he was fired. Today he comes like Pontius Pilate, washing his hands, sanctimonious, speaking about integrity. When he had the chance as part of a government, he failed to deliver accountability. He failed to deal with the wrongdoings in his own cabinet, and spoke out only after he was fired. Do you want this man as your Prime Minister? And so, today, as we prepare for election 2015, I want to share with you, as we speak of responsibility, I want to talk to you about constitutional responsibility, statutory responsibility under the laws of Trinidad and Tobago. Those who aspire to hold high office, the office of the Prime Minister, must be one who would support and uphold the Constitution and the laws of Trinidad and Tobago. And so tonight I say, they say, common sense is not so common. Last week in Parliament, I remember those words as I listened in astonishment to the leader of the opposition, bold-facedly, brass-faced, and shamelessly saying he did not understand what was the conflict of interest he had in the appointment of Mr. David West as PCA director. He didn't see the conflict of interest. Can you imagine that? It is so simple and clear that an SCA student can understand. Yet the leader of the opposition, who swore an oath to uphold the Constitution and the law, does not understand his position when he acted in that matter. When I proposed Mr. West as a nominee for the position, I did so in good faith. I did not know that Mr. West was a potential witness for Mr. Rowley in a private case brought against Mr. Rowley. Mr. Rowley knew that. It is not my responsibility to know every court case everybody brings against Dr. Rowley. I don't keep tabs on his legal battles. And in fact, I think he has some more to come very soon. He knew that Mr. West was going to give evidence on his behalf. Dr. Rowley's lawyers were already liaising with Mr. West to draft his witness statement. Dr. Rowley was therefore approving and supporting a candidate whose support he needed as a witness in his court case. And he doesn't understand the potential conflict of interest. The question is, why did he keep it secret? What did he have to hide? Now, in Parliament, he has admitted that he did not disclose this material fact, that West was his potential witness. He did not tell me, nor did he tell the President, nor did he tell anyone. His failure to disclose the truth now gives rise to many questions. But before I raise those questions, let me just quote for you from the Integrity in Public Life Act, which is a statutory duty to disclose any possible conflict of interest. The Integrity in Public Life Act says, and I read, Section 29. For the purposes of this Act, a conflict of interest is deemed to arise if a person in public life were to make or participate in the making of a decision in the execution of his office, and at the same time knows or ought reasonably to have known that in the making of the decision there is an opportunity either directly or indirectly to further his private interests or that of a member of his family. He has a conflict of interest is deemed to arise. Person in public office, Dr. Rowley is clearly a person in public office. And in the execution of his office as leader of the opposition, where we had to make a joint recommendation for the director of the PCA, if he knew or reasonably ought to have known, directly or indirectly, he was furthering his private interests. The Act says further, where there is a possible or perceived conflict of interest, a person to whom this part applies shall disclose his interests in accordance with prescribed procedures and disqualify himself from the decision-making process. Look, imagine if the shoe were on the other foot. Just imagine. Or the stockings were on the other foot. You know, they like to talk about my shoes and my stockings. So just imagine if the shoes or the stockings were on the other foot. Could you imagine what they would have said? What if the tables were turned? Suppose Dr. Rowley sued me for defamation and Mr. West was my witness. Suppose Dr. Rowley sued me, West was given evidence in support of my defense, and then I come now and nominate Mr. West for the post of Director of the Police Complaints Authority. But when I do that, I don't tell anybody he's my witness. Can you imagine the uproar there would have been should the shoe have been on the other foot? And so you see it yourself. Someone is coming to be your witness to help you win your court case. And you do not see a conflict of interest in recommending him for a position that should be independent and without political interference. And so, with that in train, I am saying the questions arise as follows. When did Dr. Rowley know that West is going to be or was his witness? Would he in any way have discussed this matter with Mr. West? Did he strike a deal with Mr. West whereby he, Dr. Rowley, would support the candidacy of Mr. West in exchange for Mr. West giving evidence in his support? I ask also, if Mr. West had already agreed to give evidence on Dr. Rowley's behalf, was he trying to influence the nature of Mr. West's evidence, or what West would say in the court in his witness statement, so it could be more helpful to his Dr. Rowley's defense? Did Dr. Rowley put his personal interests before the public interest by deliberately concealing the fact that Mr. West was his supporter and witness? Because disclosure of these facts would obviously tend to get a reasonable person to say he would disqualify himself from the job. Some of these questions arise, and so I have instructed the leader of government business in the House of Representatives in the Parliament to file a motion of no confidence against the leader of the opposition. Over Dr. Rowley's failure and refusal to disclose the fact that Mr. West was a potential witness for him in support of his defense in a pending defamation lawsuit brought by the former AG. I have also instructed our lawyers to advise on whether Dr. Rowley's silence, misrepresentation, violated the provisions of the Integrity in Public Life Act so as to justify an investigation, to justify an investigation by the Integrity Commission. And whilst I'm on the issue of responsibility, I talk to you then of the possible breach of statutory duty by the leader of the opposition. So, leader of the government business will file the motion of no confidence on this matter. Our lawyers will advise whether we have a prima facie case to show that Dr. Rowley is in breach of the Integrity in Public Life Act. And so, as I close tonight, I want to say that our form of governance has always been people-centered governance. This coming election is about a clear choice between a political philosophy I cherish and we cherish, which puts you, people first. One where government has delivered more than any previous government. And an aggressor from the PNM, that is your choice on the other side, who would destroy even his own party for power. A temper-prone individual who would want to take us back to the dismal days before 2010. I assure you I see the world very differently. For me, politics should be people-centered and service-oriented. I see everyone as equal. And over the years, my administration has governed with compassion and caring for all. My political life and our political lives, they've all been based on offering a helping hand up. And when I talk about such attributes, I think of people all over our beloved country. Those who worked hard to build our communities through hard work and dedication to community and family. I want to talk to you a little bit about a person from your own community. Those of you may remember her. She passed on at the age of 101. Ma Chin. Anybody knows Ma Chin? Yes? You would find persons like her in every community. Unsung heroes who contributed to the building of our country. I will tell you the story about one such one. She left her home in China in the 1930s. She came to Trinidad to join her husband and build a life in the remote community of Guanapo. I have never had the privilege to meet this very amazing lady, but I've heard stories about her struggles for family and community. And I'm telling you her story because her life symbolizes our struggle for survival and the resilience of the human spirit. Her name was Victoria Lee Sion, but the entire community knew her as Ma Chin. She and Pa Chin opened their shop in the 1930s. Ma Chin adopted everyone who built their homes close to the shop. She became the village benefactor, giving people goods on trust until they got paid month-end. Ma Chin became the mother of Guanapo as she made her way into the hearts of people. She saved and invested money wisely, bought property, built a new family home, and she raised 6 children born here in TNT. One of them Frank Sion. I think he's here with us tonight. Is Frank here? Frank, are you here? Frank Sion? Put your hands together for Frank, who is in the audience here with us. Martin lived a full life. Died in 2013, age 101. A true patriot to our community. Tonight we honor this amazing woman. I want to announce our intention to honor her. I'm told there is a junction that every taxi driver in the area knows as Marchin Junction. They say it's at the corner of Tampuna Road and Tikomo Boulevard. Is that correct? Yes. And I promise that after consultations with all the relevant authorities, it is my intention to formally rename that place officially Marchin Junction, so her memory would live forever. We must never forget what people like Marchin have contributed to our country. Today, her children and grandchildren are continuing to live that dream. We are very happy to honor her and others in the same way that I am pleased with the kind of development we have undertaken throughout TNT. So, as I close, you know their story. Repeat, repeat, repeat. One of their young MPs always talk about false lies. Well, a lie is false in the first place, so a false lie is a double lie. And one of their double lies is where they say that we are only building and working in South and Central. I ask you always, you hear lie? That is lie. You hear lie? That is lie. Because we have tried to develop across the entire nation, Trinidad and Tobago. I am happy about development that benefits our people everywhere. And so when they talk about only South and Central, let us remind them of some of the projects outside of South and Central. The COSTAT campus in Sandy Grande, do you know it? Do you know the COSTAT campus in Grande, Dr. Griffith? Yes. The new Arima Hospital to be built, the Churchill-Roosevelt Highway Extension in Arima, the new Arima Police Station, the new Piarco Police Station, the new Maloney Police Station, that fantastic Valencia Bypass Road, saving so much time. Archbishop Barbara Burke will hear, she will tell you, is here, she will tell you the St. Barbara's Spiritual Shelter Baptist Primary School, the first ever Baptist school built by my government, built in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. The Nursing Academy in El Dorado, the Tunapuna Promenade and upgraded to the Puna Market, the National Tennis Complex, which I mentioned before, under construction in Tacarigua, the Churchill-Roosevelt Highway, Uriah Butler Highway interchange at Grand Bazaar. Shall I continue? There is so much more. The Aranguez Overpass, the National Oncology Center at Mount Hope, the Diego Martin Highway Extension, the Diego Martin Technology Center, the Shagaramas Broadwalk, the Rose Hill RC in Laventille, the Paramin RC in Diego Martin Northeast, the Point Cumana RC in Diego Martin West, the Fabo Government School in Laventille, and the Arima New Government School also constructed. These are just some of the projects. And of course, on top of it, this, you know about the water flowing in your lines. You know about the lighting up of your recreation grounds. You know about the roads and the drains and the bridges that we built throughout the country. So here, let me not talk further. Those who have eyes to see will see throughout the length and breadth of Trinidad and Tobago. So I do not intend to spend too much time talking about what we have done for you, because that is our job. That is our responsibility. I'm here to tell you that we will not stop the development. We will never stop so long as you give us a clear mandate to continue to work for you. Finally, I ask you to beware of Dr. Keith Rowley. I've already described to you what I consider to be a potential conflict of interest and a breach of statutory duty in the matter regarding disclosure with the appointment of David West. There is another matter that we can see where the leader of the opposition used the parliament and the privilege of parliament to make the wildest accusations of a most heinous nature against high members holding office in your government. For far too long, I have sat and watched in horror as dangerous conspiracy theories are hatched against my government and yours. I will not tolerate any baseless and malicious attacks whilst the PNM is protected by their friends. Their allegations reached a new level with what has come to be known as the Emailgate conspiracy, in which the leader of the opposition read out in Parliament about 30 alleged emails accusing some of us of corruption, of spying, and even of attempted murder. They manufactured a dark cloud of suspicion. They left it lingering over my head and that of other members, senior members of the government, when all we ever wanted to do was to serve you in fairness, in equity, and with love. When he read those emails that he called emails were in fact bogus emails, I immediately referred it to the Acting Commissioner of Police for investigation. Then, I categorically denied, as I do now and have done all the time, that those alleged emails purported to be sent from me and to me. They were bogus and remain bogus up to this day. Recently, I saw in the newspapers an article which indicated that the authorities in the United States have provided the information requested from Google about the emails. There has been no refuting the allegations contained in that article, and therefore I call upon the Acting Commissioner of Police and the Director of Public Prosecutions to indicate what the position is in this regard, and I've also asked my lawyers to make such representation on my behalf to their offices. If the email information sent from the U.S. authorities has in fact been received by the police, received directly from Google by the police, concerning my email account and those of other ministers, then that investigation must move with dispatch, must move swiftly to conclude that investigation. Having regard to the serious nature of the allegations, I ask that the findings be made public as a matter of urgency so the damage done to our country's reputation can be restored. I want to warn Dr. Rowley that he may have to worry about yet another lawsuit for his lies and bogus conspiracy theories in which he has played my government. And I warn him, this time, the lawsuit will come from me. Fortunately, I have a lot of court clothes, plenty court clothes. So Dr. Rowley, be warned, be warned. After all, I must protect and defend my character and reputation and that of my government from these baseless attacks. And I say very clearly, without fear or favor, let the chips fall where they may. Let justice prevail. Let justice prevail, though the heavens shall fall. So bring on the conclusion of those investigations. We will continue to work with you towards further development. We have a different agenda where you are the most valuable component. They say that they will cut the budget and they will cut the programs. We say we will protect jobs. We'll make sure social programs are maintained and funded. We will continue to protect the things you hold dear: pensions, social grants, jobs, free transport for the elderly, for schools, for school children, for tertiary education, for a better health care, for the laptops, for the Children's Life Fund. These are some of the programs we will continue to fund. We cannot develop our country for one group. and leave out another. Trinidad and Tobago is not P&M country. Trinidad and Tobago is one country. It is our country for all the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. And so, together we will build this land of ours. We are standing firm for you. We will always act in your best interest. We need every one of you to carry the message to every corner, every road and every trace and every track in our country. We need you to work together as we in government have done for you in the last several years. It is okay to disagree at times. That's normal and that's a healthy sign in a democracy. It helps us to see things more clearly. It helps us and allows us to make the corrections that we need to make, to take decisions. As your leader, I want you to know and understand clearly, we are one party and we have one leader. We will never agree on everything, but we all agree that our country comes before party and before self. Trinidad and Tobago is our home. Every action we take must be to take us forward, to make us a better country for all, today and for the generations to come. So, I know you want to know a lot about elections. Let me assure you we have a plan. We have not started the screening process, but there is no hurry. We will do that at the right time. We have not nominated any candidate for any constituency. We will only do so after we consult with you and with all the executives in every constituency. When we make a decision, when we make the decisions, then we would want you all to work with us to ensure victory in that election in 2015. Friends all, we are one family. And so I ask we continue to work together. Let us put our country first. Let us stand firm to defend our government. Think of that as we embark on a national campaign. Think of what you have achieved over the past years. Ask yourselves this, and I ask you tonight, are you better off today than before 2010? Are you better off today than 2010? We have crossed many hurdles. We have crossed many hurdles, and we have many rivers still to cross. And so, I say, keep your hope, keep your faith, keep your courage, and always remember that we will only progress when we put God in front and we walk behind. When we do that, when we put God in front and we walk behind, no weapon formed against us shall prosper. No weapon formed against us shall prosper. And so as I close, I ask you once again, let us continue to put God in front of us. Let us continue to walk behind, united as one family, working for the greater good of all of us and for our blessed country. I leave you with these words. You have had many prime ministers. You will have more prime ministers. But you will never have a prime minister who loves you as much as I do. I thank you very much. May God bless you all.
Mr. Kamla Persad-Bissessar there delivering the feature address at this evening's Monday night forum at the Brazil Secondary School, and quite a powerful address indeed. And I want to draw your attention very quickly to